Head over to BoardGamePrices.com to see the best price on Space Explorers and thousands of other games. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, it's all about space. We're gonna be trying to build all of these historical projects out in space. We're gonna be doing it with all sorts of different people like engineers and astronauts and testers. Today we're taking a look at Space Explorers from 25th Century Games. Sort of an engine building game with a sort of contract or project fulfillment. Let me show you how it works. I'll see you on the other side. In Space Explorers, you're going to be trying to complete different projects that are worth certain points, and you're going to need a certain amount of skills by different specialists that you'll be recruiting to help you build those. Each player is going to have their own area where they're going to be placing specialists in these different sections like engineering, testing, science, construction, and spaceflight. Turns are very simple. You're either going to be taking one of these specialists into your hand or one off the deck into your hand, or you'll be playing cards either from your hand or directly from this research center into your tableau. Now if you take a card and you take any one of these, it simply gets replaced and it's the next player's turn. Now these cards are typically in your hand right now, they're not out here yet. So think of these as in your hand, and if you want to play one of these on your next turn to the specific spot that they belong to, you can do it by spending resources. This one needs both of these resources by default. This one, and it's worth 0 points at the end of the game, where this one's worth a lot of points at the end of the game, but it requires a lot of resources in order to play them. So this one needs 2 resources, and you can get resources in different ways. Everyone starts with one of each of the resources. If you want to spend both of these, you could take one of each and just pass it to the player to your left. This is an important part of the game. It's sort of a moving economy where you spend things to another player, and surely enough, at some point later in the game, some resources are going to end up coming back to you. You can have multiples of each one as well. But instead of spending the resources like this to get this card, you can always put any card back into the center and get 2 resources of any kind. So I could simply put this card here. You can have more than 6 in this research center, and that just gave me 2 resources of any kind, but it allowed other people to possibly be able to take this card, which I might not want them to do. Now I paid the 2 resources because any card put at the center is any 2, and you put it in the spot that it belongs. I now have one of these skill sets. Now, most cards will have special abilities as well in the bottom right. This one just says, hey, I have one of these resources for free for the rest of the game as long as this card is on top. So now let's say in a subsequent turn, I had this card in my hand. Now, normally I'd have to pay both of these, but I already have automatically one of these, so I can just spend, let's say, this resource to the player to the left, and now I can play this here. Now, another cool thing is as you start placing people in the same spot, it gets easier to place people here because let's say I want to put another one here. This one would normally cost these 3 resources. Because I already have one of these icons in this spot from one card, I can pay 1 less, and going from bottom to top, 1 less. So now this one only cost me 2 of those yellow resources. Again, I could get those by just discarding a card to the center like before, and then placing it here. Then the next card, now that I have 2, the first 2 resources are paid for. And so it's an engine building, as you build at a certain spot, it gets easier and easier to build there. Plus, I now have a new special ability, which gives me those 2 yellows on my next turn, but it covers up this one. So you're constantly planning as to when do I want to place a card, do I want to cover up that ability or not. Now there's all sorts of cool abilities, not just icons. There's ones like this, and when this one's on top, anytime you recruit a card that just has a recruitment cost of 2, you get it for free. So I essentially could have added this for free as long as this one's on top. There's lots of cool abilities like that. Now each card has a number in the upper right, and it comes with a really good player aid. You go to that card number, it tells you what that ability means, and it has that for pretty much all the abilities in the game. And we showed you earlier there's lots of these different projects. By the way, there's a ton of these tiles, and they're double-sided, so the game has a lot of variability. This one, if you have 4 of these icons here and 2 of these, you can get this at the end of your turn. You keep it in front of you. This is going to be worth 4 points. This is the main way to score large points in the game. Of course, all the cards that you get sometimes will give you points as well. And turns continue like this until either all the projects have been completed or until anybody has 12 specialists recruited. Whoever has the most points is the winner. All right, well, there is Space Explorers. First of all, I love the theme of this, and I love the art in this game. It sort of gives you that sort of aged 50s, 60s look, and the theme of actually bringing together these different people to put these different projects together, I liked quite a bit. I like that it has simple turns. I mean, you're either just taking a card or recruiting a card into your space. taking a card or playing a card. That's essentially it. But there's a lot going on in those two decisions. I like the moving economy of those tokens, where one of the main ways to get the resources to play the cards in your area is to use those tokens, but they pass to the left. And it's cool because that economy moves around, and you can look at what people need. You can look at what's in the center. You can look at what you have, what they have. You could sort of deny them some of those resources. It's a really interesting way to sort of pass the buck around. I like that aspect of it. I liked putting cards back into the center for resources as well, because, hey, this is a quick, easy 2 resources. I'm going to put this card back in the center, but now I'm giving that card up to other people, which might be very good for them, especially depending on some of the different things they can do with their special abilities and such. I like that the recruitment cost for each of the cards to sort of put them in your own area, it lessens with the more people of the same type, and that's sort of that engine building where it's like, oh, I'm going to start working on all these astronauts. Each astronaut I get is going to allow me to get another one a little bit easier. And so I like that engine building aspect of the game. Love the special abilities. A lot of them are really cool, and I like how that as you play on top of them, the ability goes away. So it's a tough choice where it's like, ooh, I really need another one of these to get this project, but if I do it now, then, oh gosh, I'll give up this really cool ability. I might want to wait a little bit later, work on some of the other parts of that project, and then come back to this. And the abilities themselves are really cool, so I like that aspect of it. This game's a great puzzle. You're really trying to figure out how can you quickly, most efficiently get things going, to build those projects, to get those points, but puzzling it together is a really cool thing. And this game essentially is, Splendor 2.0, essentially. It's kind of like Splendor, but there's more going on. I would call Splendor a sort of a gateway game. I would definitely not call this that. This is definitely, at the very least, a next step game, mostly because of all the different abilities and such, and the player aid's really well laid out, and you can clearly see what they do. This is definitely a gamer's game, not a gateway game, but I really liked it. Anything I didn't like about it? Well, I'd say that the art is really cool, and it is, but there was a lot of reused art assets here. Like, when you have an astronaut, the next powerful of the different levels of the power of those astronauts, basically the same art just zoomed in. So I would have really liked to have seen different art for each of the different powers and not just the same picture zoomed in. Of course, it would have cost more money. Yes, I know this is a smaller publisher, but it really would have made the game sing even more with more unique art as opposed to just using the same one over and over. Also, the cards were a little too thin. They bent really easily. Not that it happened a lot, but they were a little flimsy. However, they were linen finish, which was interesting. I loved the finish of them, but they did feel a little thin. I wish they were a little thicker. But overall, if you're looking for sort of a next step or a gamer's engine building game with contract fulfillment, this is definitely an excellent one at Space Explorers. This video was shot on a Game Topper, the ultimate gaming accessory. After successfully fulfilling their first Kickstarter, Game Toppers are taking the world by storm. Now you can get your own portable gaming top by participating in Game Topper's Kickstarter 2.0 starting June 25th, 2019. New styles, new sizes, and amazing new game mats. Go to GameToppersLLC.com to enter a full Game Topper system valued over $1,000 to also bring you to the Kickstarter project page and to late pledge.